Have you ever struggled to get through a communication studies paper too? Keep watching to the end for suggested answers for all three sections of the 2016 paper. In the extract, the author puts forward an interesting main idea and purpose. Despite Trinidad and Tobago's economic resilience and lower debt position, the country is not immune to global economic crisis. The writer's purpose is to highlight the potential risks and challenges that Trinidad and Tobago may face in the ongoing economic crisis.
Gets affected.
They are ping-ponging back off each other.
People are seeing this, and those memories of fear are coming back.
You see, the main point and purpose provide your reader with an overview of the entire extract without requiring them to read it. CXC stresses an annual recurring problem, which is the inability of students to produce the elementary frame. Start your essays by stating the main point and purpose, saying something like, the main point is, and the writer's purpose is too. Feel free to play around with the words, but ensure that the sentence conveys the same idea. Identifying organizational strategies and language techniques is quite easy when you know what you're looking for. Use this as a general rule of thumb. If it improves the structure of your writing, then it's an organizational strategy. If it adds flair to the writer's language, then it's a language technique. Point, evidence, explain. State your point by identifying the strategy or technique. Provide evidence by stating how and or where it is used in the extract. Explain by stating how it helps the writer to achieve his purpose. Let's look at this for example. An organizational strategy that I found was problem and solution. So using the P method, this point in your essay may look like this. The author employs organizational strategies like problem and solution and expert opinion in the extract. It predominantly follows a problem-solution structure. It introduces a global crisis resulting from fiscal indiscipline and a buildup of sovereign debt, warning that Trinidad and Tobago may face similar challenges despite its economic resilience. The proposed solution emphasizes the need for adaptation to international economic changes to avoid a fiscal crisis. This structured approach communicates the writer's argument with clarity, underlining the issue's gravity while instilling a sense of hope and the possibility of preventative action in Trinidad and Tobago. Other strategies I found were expert opinion or citation of authority. There were many direct quotes from the governor of the central bank, Stuart Williams. I also saw the use of statistics. That's where the extract spoke about the GDP in the Eurozone by stating that it is projected to contrast at an annualized rate of 1% in the last quarter of this year or 0.4% in the first 3 months of 2012, this year being 2011. There was also forecasting. As the author speaks about Trinidad's economic position being uncertain, even though projected growth in Trinidad's economy is 1.5% in the final paragraph. Language techniques which I was able to find are metaphor, where it says problems an ocean away can stir up waves here at home. I also saw the use of technical jargon, anemic growth and high employment, which are terms heavily used in the realm of business and finance. There's also the use of direct quotations, mainly used when the extract reiterates statements made by Mr. Stuart Williams. There is also hyperbole. Casting a long shadow over the entire global economy seems like an exaggeration to me. And there's also the use of euphemism where they say shortfalls similar to those in 2008. There's also the use of alliteration, but maybe not intentional. The repetition of the t sound in Trinidad and Tobago shows alliteration. I don't think it's the strongest point available from the list of options, but the convenience of it being there is just class and definitely deserves an honorable mention. If you happen to find any more, leave them in the comments down below. The Module 2 extract is from Quarantine Thunder by Edgar Mittelhauser. The first question of the Module 2 essay requires students to speak about the language varieties used in the extract. So primarily, two dialects were used, Trinidadian Creole and Standard English. A recurring issue is that students often use the term broken English when referring to Creole. Now, I know I've said this like 1,000 times, or maybe more, but I'll say it again because I love you guys and only want the best for you. Don't, and I mean do not, refer to Creole as broken English. Bina and Ramgalal uses Trinidadian Creole, evident by the use of adjective reduplication, for example, tall, tall boy, and the constant omission of voice consonants such as saying spend instead of spend. On the other hand, we see that Jeffrey and Stimpy use Standard English. Jeffrey's use of the Standard English suggests that he may not have been in this environment for some time or may have studied abroad or perhaps in the city area. This is further supported by the statement, he come back from school. When the focus shifts to speaking about language registers, in 2016, the fact that students equated Creole to the informal register and the Standard English to the formal was problematic. It showed that many students completely missed the point here. You see, registers refer to the degree of formality of the language used within a context. And in communication, when we say context, we mean situation. In everyday life, we see this when we use honorifics when talking to someone you just met, as opposed to dropping them when you're talking to friends. Using the wrong register in the wrong situation may make you seem rude in some cases or even snobbish in other cases. In the beginning of the extract, Bina and Ramgalal use the casual register. Bina says, it's Jeffrey. And Ramgalal responds with, Jeffrey? What Jeffrey? Who that? Their use of familiar and informal language reflects a comfortable everyday conversation between friends. Jeffrey, on the other hand, uses a mixture of the formal and the casual register. Now, yes, he speaks mostly using Standard English and uses complete sentences, but his choice of words and the structure of his sentences is still more relaxed than what you'd see in a formal setting. Informality is shown or demonstrated in the use of contractions, such as when he says, I've brought my good friend, instead of saying, I have brought my good friend. He also speaks in the active voice throughout the entire conversation. For example, he says, we started on our bikes, as opposed to the passive voice alternative, the journey was started on our bikes. Imagine how the conversation's dynamic would shift if Jeffrey had said that. You see, Bina and Ramgalal may react negatively towards him, thinking that he's insinuating that he's of a higher social status. So remember me saying using the wrong register in the wrong context can make you appear snobbish? That's what I meant. Essentially, the active voice portrays a more conversational tone used in everyday conversation, and it's less rigid. In the case of different communicative behaviors, there were many to choose from. So the idea is not to talk about everything, but to focus on the points you can develop extremely well. I usually go for 2 of my strongest points due to the word limit. We observe instances of kinesics such as Bina waving at Jeffrey when she saw him coming. This wave indicates that she welcomes him. Additionally, there's the instance of Ramgalal using his hand to shade his eyes. Though the extract stated this, it still communicates that he needed to see the approaching figure a little better, maybe because of some sun glare or something. But a win is a win. There is also Stimpy's participation in the conversation. Or should I say lack of participation? You see, Stimpy being a man of few words indicates perhaps shyness or simply the fact that he just doesn't know the people. You know, I envy people who can go up to strangers and initiate conversation and carry that conversation on their backs. Like me, my back well weak in that department.
You weak jellyback.
The Module 3 essay, and I use the term essay lightly here, deviates from your typical essay format. It requires you to assume the role of, what was it? A communication specialist for the Ministry of Health and explain how you would plan and deliver a speech to teenagers about the negative effects of alcohol and drug abuse. Now, the key to this question is to articulate how you're going to plan and deliver the speech, not write the speech itself. Remember that. You're talking about planning and delivering the speech. Reputable sources for information include medical journals and renowned organizations such as the World Health Organization, WHO, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, that's the CDC. Making information given in the speech more relatable to the audience can be achieved by using local data, and this can be obtained through conducting your own research or, of course, utilizing primary data from research done by others. Finally, obtaining information from experts in the field such as counselors and healthcare professionals can really come in clutch when you need it. When considering the language techniques, explore the use of anecdotes in your speech. Tell a story to get your point across. You also want to leverage imagery as an asset to paint a clear picture for your audience. Also, using slangs to resonate with the audience and avoiding the use of technical terms is very important. As for non-verbal forms of communication, consider body language. Use gestures, maintain eye contact in a non-creepy, comfortable way, and use smiles to connect with your audience during the speech. Hermes. I mean, if you get it, you get it. Additionally, adopt a great posture and movement on the stage to command attention and to keep your audience engaged. Also, using audiovisual aids can be helpful. Now, speaking about audiovisual aids, when it comes on to digital technology, you want to leverage presentation software, for example, PowerPoint or Prezi, for creating effective audiovisual aids. Additionally, using interactive polls is beneficial, especially considering that over half the global population owns a smartphone. So this can facilitate active participation. Also, enhance the communication process by leveraging social media platforms to encourage discussions, significantly improving the topic awareness and, of course, driving the communication process. You see, writing these essays isn't hard. Doing them over and over will help to build your self-confidence. So follow these tips to write your essay, and I'd love to read it. Find out more about submitting that essay to me in the description box below.